On this episode of In the House, we sit down with Adam Weedman, the owner of Been Dumped. Now, I've been using Been Dumped for several years, and I've always been blown away by their service and their commitment to excellence. So I got Adam on to talk about his background and the background of the company. We also talk about why he decided to start Been Dumped. We talk about the challenges with startup and scaling up the business to meet demand. And we also talk about what is his mission, what are some current struggles that he's going through, and what does the future of the company look like. I also want to pause and thank GCTex Drywall for making this episode possible. Don't forget, if you like this episode, subscribe and share with a friend. Thanks for listening. Well, man, I don't know about you, but these allergies are they getting to you?
Today.
Yeah.
It must be today because my eyes are itching. And it's funny, I went and had acupuncture for only the second time today.
Really?
And I went last week and this week. And he said, you got to come about 5 or 6 times and kind of lower back. And I told him, I said, I still got the shit in my lungs from a month ago, you know, coughing it up in my nose. He says, okay, well, we'll work on that. He's a little Chinese guy. And he puts it in, he says, okay, these 3 are for your sinuses and your thing. Well, like, an hour after I leave there, my nose is running. And I had to run all day. I'm like, is that from the allergies or is that because that little guy just did something?
He must have fixed it.
He must have getting all this shit out of my nose. Here it comes.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try my best to not sound like a goober on here, but tell me, I'm interested to hear more about kind of your background and how you got into. I mean, so you're the owner of Been Dumped.
Yeah.
You know, and I think before we get into the business side, you know, I'm hearing about the company, but I want to know about your background, like where are you from?
Well, I mean, I grew up in Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, and I took a semester and I went to Europe. My last semester in school, I went to school over there, but
really? Because
I did that, I didn't graduate till December instead of June with all my friends.
Yeah.
And it was freezing cold, so I took a job in Minneapolis, and I told the guy I'd start like January 12th, and came down to visit. I always thank one of my roommates for being the dumbest one of all of us because the only job offer he got was in Houston, Texas. This was 1990, and I went down to visit them Christmas through like New Year's, and I said, "Man, I'm not going to go back to that shit." It was 75 degrees, played golf, you know, met a couple Mexican girls, had a good time, and I called called the guy I was going to start with. I said, "I'm not coming to Minnesota. There's no way." I know my car wasn't going to start when I got back up there because that's where I flew out of.
Right.
My brother lived there. All my friends were in Chicago and Kansas City for the most part, Minnesota.
Yeah. And
I went down to visit him in Houston, and that was it. I mean, it was 33 years ago.
Really? Wow.
I'd say 33 years, a wife and 2 kids, and my mom's still pissed off at me. But that was kind of it. And then I've just always kind of worked, for myself. I always knew I was going to do shit for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't mind. I like working. I've always worked. You know, and came down and was working for started waiting tables and then worked at an insurance company, Prudential, and then went to Pacific Life, and they moved me up here to open an office, and I lasted a year and was their top salesperson in the country. And I told myself, I can't do any more than this. I can't work any harder than I just did.
Yeah.
And if they adjust their rates up, I'm going to make less money.
Right.
Because I won't sell as much. And Austin was, this was when all the technology was booming, and I got involved in
well, what did you sell? Sorry.
Health insurance at the time with Pacific Life. Everybody knows Pacific Life today. Right? Okay. Back then they didn't really.
Yeah.
They were a relatively new company. But I got involved with these associations, like state and local level associations that were wanting to put together health insurance plans.
Yeah.
And we did that for a number of them. And then HIPAA, you may have heard of HIPAA. I mean, it's a term that in healthcare. Well, that didn't exist then. But as soon as it passed, you couldn't basically decline people. Right? You couldn't decline people for their health issues, which prior to that they did. They said, we don't want you.
Sure.
Well, health insurance in associations, they'd have a plan that was a really, really, really competitive plan, right? But they could exclude the sick people. So it was a really good plan, right? So everybody's on it. Well, then when that passed, all the sick people got on it and the rates went up, all the healthy people left and they kind of imploded. They just disappeared. But I got involved with the associations and somehow legal insurance came up, and you might have heard of. There's a couple policies out there. There's a multi-level marketing one that everybody had heard of, but there were some other real group legal insurance policies where like all the big corporations have it, where their employees have access to lawyers.
Sure.
So we got involved and started doing that with associations, so like Texas Counseling Association, Texas Nurses Association. We put in these little legal plans, and I got involved with associations, but then I realized we're selling all these great products, but they don't even have a website. So we started a software company. We built their website, and then we turned into their databases, and we had 1,700 associations in every state in 3 countries, because we were kind of the first one to come out with a web-based platform for them. So it wasn't software.
Yeah.
And what was cool about them is they all work together. They were all friends. So if you got Texas Counseling, we ended up with 27 state counseling associations because we had Texas. Well, then we started doing other stuff, managing their job boards and career centers, and then we had 50 bar associations and 50 state nursing associations, and the company just grew. So we have the software, and I had a whole group of salespeople over here because they had a staff of 3, right? They're all nonprofits. And it just was a great deal. And unfortunately, I brought in one shitty investor, and they only owned 10% of the business, but they were just assholes. Yeah. And it got to the point at the end where 12 years later, I said, I can't do this anymore. And they were roadblocking everything I did, and unfortunately, they had the right to do it. I brought on a CEO, a guy that I thought would be good, and he ended up spending $1 million in 90 days, and we couldn't make payroll, and we ended up losing 9 years into it. I had to get rid of 40% of the staff, and but we were good because our service was so good, and I've always been very service focused.
Yeah.
And our customers loved us, so I said, look, just bear with us. We got a good team that's staying here, and we turned it around, and 3 years later sold it. But and then, like I said, I just kind of was dibbling and dabbling in a bunch of different stuff, and then Valente Beach came up, and my kids grew up out there. My 25-year-old now was a baby when we were out there.
Really?
And my second one wasn't even born. My wife would spend all day out there. I'd work all day at the insurance, and I'd go out there, meet them for lunch. I'd go back and work, and then the start of the Finiscape, same thing. For the first 7 years of their life, that's all they did, was hung out at Valente Beach in the summertime.
Man,
and
lucky.
And we ended up the company, the building that Ben Dumped is in today. I bought that from an old lady that lived in Valente, actually. It's funny, Valente's got a lot of history to it, and there's a lot of old timers out there. Most of them have passed now, but at the time, it was like the Hatfields and McCoys. There were these 2 groups, they hated each other. And the 2 families, I mean, the Davises, Libby was, the building that I bought used to be called Libby's. It was a bar. It's right there at the corner.
I drive past that every day.
So you know where it is.
Yeah, I go past that location every day. Yeah, it looks like a house.
That used to be one of the hottest bars, and it was a bait shop, a restaurant, a bar.
Yeah, you're talking about the bar down the road.
No, I'm talking about that corner right there. The building
really?
that
used to be a bar.
Oh, yeah. They had a stage outside. Stevie Ray Vaughan played there. Rusty Weir, all kinds of. I got pictures of all of them playing there, and the stage is still there, and the dance floor is still there. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And that's what I wanted to do with it when I bought it. I wanted to turn it into a bar and a restaurant. So I had plans and had everything done, and I went to get the liquor licenses. Luckily, I didn't build it out because I had to get all the stuff, and I got it from Travis County. And then the city of Austin said, "You can't do that there. That's our that's in the city." I'm like, "No, it's not." Well, they had annexed that single property and the park across the street back in 1986. Nothing else. There's no water out there. There's no utilities, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so we fought them for a little bit, and my guy's like, look, you can fight them and take it to court, probably win, but you're going to spend it. I said, I'm not going to worry about it. We'll do something different. But
when did they do away with the annexing? I think because Austin was doing that for a while, where they were annexing like municipalities. They
annexed. I mean, where I live now, Glen Lake and River Place, they annexed all that Steiner Ranch.
Yeah.
And then right after that is when the state passed the law saying you can't unless they vote. But
right.
It's kind of like the property taxes now. They just passed relief, and they just jacked us up 150% last year. So it's like, well, they're not going to go backwards now.
Right.
But it's a good. I mean, it's just great out there. But anyway, Linda owned that building called Linda. And I talked to her, and she told me she owned those little bungalows across the street from Valente, those little cabins.
I think so.
I mean, there's like 4 little cabins.
I think
stone
so.
cabins.
Yeah.
Built in 1940.
Kind of on the water side?
No, on the other side.
Oh.
So Beachside Billy's and the water park's on this side, Lake's right here. Right across the street on the corner, there's these 5 little rock cabins.
I'll need to pay more attention.
And I told her, I said, man, if you ever want to sell those, I'd be interested in buying them because my wife would make them vacation rentals.
Yeah.
Well, she called like probably 5 years later. So we were buying those, and he had sold the water park to somebody different, a young couple, and had kids. And I knew Rick. I mean, obviously we've been out there a lot, so I knew him. And I knew he had sold it or was trying to sell it. And I saw them moving out. They were moving out of their house right next door. And I called him up, and he was in New Orleans for his birthday, and he's like, I said, Rick, they're leaving. They're packing you. No, they're not. We're closing next week. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, they're packing. They're not unpacking. They're packing. They're putting shit in the truck. Take it out. They better not be. So they left. They backed out on the deal. And I said, you know what? We didn't want it to be something different than the water park. So I called up another buddy and said, hey, we can sell this place. I mean, it could be a great place. And that was right after the 5-year drought. He didn't put any money in it. It was kind of crappy. So I know 7 years. We're 7 years into it now. And but it's, people love it. I mean, the locals are awesome out there. It's a great little group.
It does seem like a great spot.
Summer. I mean, you don't feel like you're 8 minutes from the chaos of Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about it at Purple Bee. We're out there. People are like, look at this. This is like just, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and in 10 minutes you're going to be at 620 in Anderson Mill. And but anyway, it's we like it out there. So we're making some changes out there this year. I'm trying to buy my partner out right now. He wanted out.
Really?
We were going to sell it to the marina. And that guy's kind of hemming and hawing. I said, I really don't want to sell it. I said, it doesn't lose money. Even the shitty years last year was, it didn't lose money.
Yeah.
So I've got some other guys that live out there that want to be part of it. I said, let's get in it and let's do what it's capable of doing. And kind of focus on the corporate parties, because that's really where the money is. But that's kind of it. Then did that and been dumped. I was the investor of Been Dumped.
Yeah.
I put a guy in it. I found a dumpster business. Well, Been There, Dumped That. You may have heard of that one. They got lime.
I have, dumpsters. And I wanted to get into, before we go in, what was the thought behind Been Dumped? Like, why dumpsters? Why get into that?
Again, my whole background and everything is I had said I could start any business I wanted to and put others out of business just from service alone.
Sure.
And this was one of those businesses. I tried to order it when I was remodeling that place to be a bar.
Okay.
I mean, I'd ordered dumpsters from a company that's been around a long time. They're still around. Well, the owner's still driving a truck, still today. And he was just an asshole. I mean, the guy was like I'm paying him to give him $600 for a dumpster. Every time I was like, this is stupid. And I remember that this friend of mine was just struggling. He'd tried a couple other businesses, and he was in electronic sales, and they'd kind of disappeared, right? Because the whole market just was gone.
Right.
So he didn't have a job, and I helped him try to start a car thing, and that didn't work. And I said, look, I got an idea, because I'd seen this Been There, Dumped That franchise for sale here in Austin. The guy down in Lakeway. And it's a national franchise out of Canada, so they're pretty much in every city. And I'd call him up and said, hey, let's go check this out. So we went and checked it out, and he had 2 trucks and maybe, I don't know, not even 100 dumpsters, I think like 75 dumpsters. But he said, well, I got an offer from a kid, and they're waiting for bank approval, and so I got to honor that if they're going to do it.
Yeah. And
the truck had like 180,000 miles on it. The other one was like 150, and I'm like, well, this is all right deal. Sure. So let's look at it. Well, luckily for us, he sold it to the other guys. Because I told him, I was like, you're either going to sell it to us by Friday or we're moving on. He goes, well, I'll know by Friday. He called and he said, the bank approved it. We're done. I said, all right, Ron, just go figure out where they made the dumpsters.
Right.
I mean, the trucks are trucks. Unless we can go buy trucks, no problem. And I'm glad we did, because we started with all brand new stuff.
Right.
I put the money in. We got 2 trucks and 50 dumpsters, and we started the business. And I did, all kind of the office stuff on my own time, and he'd get on the phone and start selling. And that was, 2015, 2016. Just kind of ramped it up from there. But then he started doing some dumb stuff. So I brought in another investor, one of the guys that was an investor in my software company. And he's 80 years old today. But he's always wants to be in everything I'm in, because I made him good money. So
absolutely.
And we were just investors. But then he and I both kind of said, look, we're not comfortable with what you're doing. We don't want to be part of this. So you either buy us out or we'll buy you out. Well, he didn't have any money. He tried for 90 days, and so we ended up buying him out. And I had another guy in there, because I was working mainly on Valente Beach, getting it up and running.
Yep.
And I'm still managing the restaurant and the bar out there. My partners were running the water park. And when COVID hit, we didn't know what was going on, right? We didn't know if the water park was going to be able to open, didn't know if the restaurant was going to be open. In fact, it was closed, and we're fighting with the village, because they're kind of the blue. Some of them are blues out there, and they're like, "Oh, you have to close. You have to close." No, the state says water parks can be open. So the state overrides the county, and Travis County and Austin. So we're opening. Well, they tried to push some buttons, and we but anyway, prior to that, I said, look, I can't wait out here, and I can't pay this guy to do bin dump because even construction stopped for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to ask kind of how y'all fared during that. I know it kind of paused.
It was only a couple of weeks, or maybe a month, but it was non-essential. And then they opened it back up, and things just exploded.
Yep.
So I went over and started answering the phone. I told the other guy, a friend of mine, I said, look, I can't afford to pay you. I got to figure this out myself.
Yeah.
So I got in there, started answering the phone. Well, things just started going. The construction was going nuts, and we're getting calls from people that no one has dumpsters. No one had dumpsters. So I said, shit, we had the capital. I said, we're just going to buy dumpsters.
Yeah.
And we kept on buying. So when COVID started, we had 160 dumpsters and 4 trucks. Now we have 13 trucks and 500 dumpsters.
Jeez.
And that's just from COVID. That's just less than 3 years. So I've added, there were 2 batches I bought of 150 dumpsters each, 100 and then 150.
That's wild.
And these guys, the companies we bought them from are in San Antonio, they were ecstatic.
Yeah.
I said, just keep them coming. We're going to keep. And I was driving 80 hours a week. My partner was. I said, I was in the truck answering the phone. And then the rest is history. We picked up a lot of great customers, a lot of custom builders. They came to us and they said, man, you guys are so good. And I made a point of answering the phone all the time. I said, I'm going to write a sales book, and it's going to be 1 page and answer the phone. That's it. That's going to be the title and 1 page. Answer the phone and do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I've been using you for several years. Yeah, I just drove by a job site and I saw the bin dumped and decided to call the number. But yeah, that's what I was most impressed with was just the service. Yeah. You call and you speak to somebody. Or you can text. That's what I like too. I mean, you can text and you get a text right back. And I mean, within that day or even the next morning, you get a box. Yeah. And that was super impressive because the company that I was using, those big 40-yard roll-offs, and I don't remember the name of the company, but I mean, you'd call and it'd be a week later before they'd come service you. And it's
2 days before they even call you back.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why I always said this is easy. It's easy. It's like, and even still today, I think today we got 3 calls from new contractors. And when I was over at the acupuncture, I stopped by 2 job sites. Both the guys said, yeah, I'm interested. I said, I promise you will not be disappointed in the service. He says, what about billing? All these little guys, they want the money up front. I said, I'm not little anymore. 500 dumpsters. I said, I get why they do it.
Yeah.
I said, but hey, you want to pay by check? Pay by check, as long as you pay. If you don't pay, I'll be pissed off, and I'll set up a lien against the property. I said, I'm done screwing around with that. And we've been screwed a few times, but now it's like, we're just going to let the courts take care of it. And not enough to where it even matters at this point. But now we're getting some huge customers. I mean, we got one, Lacopa Ventures. I mean, they're a cleanup crew for a lot of these track builders.
Yeah.
And they were using the company, and he called us and he said, look, well, you guys come highly recommended. And I said, look, there's only a few companies that can handle that kind of volume. They do 80 dumpsters a month.
Yeah.
And but now, they're our biggest customer, and they're the same thing. Their guys are like, man, you guys how do you do this? I said, it's we started from the beginning doing it. And I've made a point of we're not going to stop doing it. So now our new phone system, because I couldn't answer the text anymore.
That's what I wanted to get into was how that's actually managed, because you got to be going nuts with the text messages and the phone calls. Like, how is that handled?
Well, like I said, it was just me up until literally less than a year ago. And it was 100. I'd go through here sometimes. I'd show my wife. I said, look, she'd say, wow, you're not that busy. I mean, you don't even understand. I said, look at this. I said, here's 75 different text threads.
Right.
And they have multiple texts in there just from today.
Yeah.
And there's probably 42 phone calls.
Yeah.
But it's just nonstop. It was nonstop. But then I brought in my oldest son, brought him back from Colorado a little over a year ago. And I got another guy in there, so I said, we need to find a system that allows text messages to come in, but they go to multiple of us.
Yeah.
Because I still want them to be answered quickly.
Sure.
So now, this Vonage system, it does that. It's not as good as texting, on our end. Like, I can't unread something. I can't.
Oh, okay.
So we've had to come and say, okay, how do we make sure we know one's been read? So if someone starts with me and then someone else accidentally hits it, it shows it read.
Yeah.
And so we have to make sure that we've got little thumbs ups and stuff like that. We're like, all right, if you see a thumbs up, it's been answered.
Okay.
And you can kind of look at the main screen and you can see those. So you can see the thumbs up right there. So we know it's been done, right, without having to do anything, without having to open it up. But we're still experimenting with it.
Sure.
And it has its issues. Like yesterday morning, for 5 hours, we weren't getting texts. And we didn't even think about it until it was like 10 o'clock. Something's not right. This is a Monday.
Yeah.
Phone should be ringing. Well, we missed a bunch, and they couldn't get them for us. And luckily, 2 or 3 called before the end of the day. Hey, did you get my text? And one just called today, like at 3 o'clock. I said, there's another one. I said, we'll get. It's okay. We weren't that stressed, but tomorrow's fine. And I said, now, just know in the future, if you don't get a thumbs up back from us within a minute or two, or at least 10 minutes, then text us again. Did you get that? And he said, no problem. I'll do that.
How many people do you have like managing the phones now? Is it...
There's 4 of us that get the text messages and the phone. The phone rings to all of us, and now we have a tree, so it'll say, if you're a new customer, press 1. Well, those all go to me on a different phone. I've got another phone.
Yeah.
And we'll get probably 5 to 7 of those a day. But when that phone rings, I know it's a new customer. 100%. Brand new customer.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And then if you're an existing customer, press 2 or text this number, what you need. But we do a lot of it by text. So, but we are outgrowing, not that, but our software we're now outgrowing. It works well in a lot of areas, but it doesn't work well in a lot of areas. So now we've got to figure out, okay, I want to be able to give you guys the ability to, right through your phone, click a QR code on a dumpster, and that QR code goes with dumpster 2120, for example.
That's smart.
And the second you just say, you just click it and say swap. That's it. And it goes
smart.
right into our system.
Yeah.
And we know it's a swap for can 2120, which automatically knows the address because that's where it is. And if we can do that, it just saves us a whole lot of time from a productivity standpoint. Same with invoicing and billing and credit card processing. Like the system added where I can accept credit cards online, but someone adds it in and it doesn't save it. She goes, oh, we can't. I said, that's bullshit. I had a software company 20 years ago. We saved every credit card, and you can do it because it's through BluePay, CardPoint, which is the largest in the world. So don't tell me you can't do it because all your competitors do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be switching to them if you can, because somebody put a credit card in and pay a bill, then we go pick it up and it's 2 tons overweight, and then they don't pay that $140 balance. Well, I lose money on that.
Yeah.
I mean, the margins are pretty slim anyway. On $400, our net's maybe $65.
Really?
What we might net
per
on
box?
it. Yeah, at most. Right?
So they're overfilled and they're not willing to pay that overage.
If that's 2 tons over, I just lost $75 on that can because I got to pay an extra $150.
Yeah.
It's all by weight,
Right.
So anyway, software will be our next big thing, and just keeping drivers happy. I mean, we offer health insurance, we do paid vacation. I'm paying them at least 10 to 15 grand more than anyone in town.
What's the biggest struggle? Like, what's the biggest hurdle? I guess is it on the software side, or is it really more on the hardware side?
Logistics people are always the biggest struggle.
You ain't lying. That's
I don't
true.
care if I had a lot of white collar people. I had guys that made $350 grand a year, and they're all a pain eventually.
Yeah.
But drivers, in this sense, they were for the first few years, but now that we're paying more, we're getting a better caliber of person that shows up for work. That's the key. Are they going to show up? If they show up, we can work on the rest.
Yeah.
And I don't mind paying them more, but they get a little lazy. Like they'll forget to put boards down, or forget, I didn't have any boards. We didn't have any boards. That means you didn't go through your pre-check at the beginning of the day, because one of them is, do you have boards in your truck?
What's the pre-check?
Pre-checking the truck and making sure you got everything with you for the day.
Okay.
You got your shovel and your flashlight and your bungees and your straps and all the stuff you might need on a job for that day. And if they don't have boards, because we put boards down on hard surfaces, we're one of the only companies in town that does it.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by that. I think one of the first times I used you guys, it was a really tight lot, and we were needing to pour the driveway, and the only place I could put it was in the garage, which wasn't ideal, but I was like, man, we got to put this box in the garage. And I asked your driver, and he's like, oh yeah, it's no problem. Yeah. And he backed that thing right up and just eased it on into the. I mean, this was a finished garage basically. Eased it right in. Yeah,
they don't usually damage this concrete anyway, unless it's already kind of damaged.
Yeah.
But in a garage, I can't put boards down in the garage because you got to roll it all the way back.
Yeah.
Now, if they put boards on the ground, if I have a 16-foot 2x4, we can put it down and roll it all the way back.
Yeah.
And some guys have done that.
Yep.
Say, look, if you want it on boards, bring me a 16 or 12-foot 2x4, 2 of them, and we can start and roll it all the way back.
Yeah.
And to get on the garage door, some of them are tough. Usually we put them in the garage. That means they don't have a permit.
That's true.
That's usually, we now charge extra for that because it is a pain. I mean, and there's a lot more chance of these drivers doing damage to somebody's house, But we've been pretty lucky. I mean, we hound our guys. Our trucks are in good shape, and I've got trucks with 300,000 miles that hardly have a dent in them.
Dang.
And I see other trucks driving around town with missing fenders and bashed in front ends and missing headlights, and we really don't. We've had one accident in, I bet we got close to 2 million miles now on our trucks.
First impressions are it's super important. And I mean, one of the guys we actually talked to on the podcast, Wade Lombard, he was him and his family started Square Cow Movers.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things they always told their drivers was you cannot put trash or clipboards or anything in the dashboard of the truck. there should be no trash. Like, this truck should be spotless. When you're going down the road and you see a truck with trash all on the dashboard, people are looking at the trash. They're not looking at the logo that's on the side of the truck. And so it's small things like that, like making sure you have boards and protecting the finished surface.
It is even things like shirts now. We're looking at, we got to get shirts for everybody. And we have them, but they get them so dirty so fast.
Yeah.
And we had the neon orange and yellow because you got to have a vest at the landfill. So we're like, we'll kill 2 birds. Well, they get so dirty so quickly. I don't want to wear black. I was all right, we got to figure this out because I'm not letting you wear that.
Yeah, right.
I got some guys, they wear their worst clothes possible because they're getting dirty.
Yeah.
And things like smoking. And we've had policies and they slack a little bit. Like right now, I want to look, we said it before. We said it a million times. Do not smoke on someone's property. If you're going to smoke, you do it at a quick trip and it's your own time and whatever. I said, but do not get out and smoke cigarettes. We know I'm smoking the truck, and there's a couple that are doing it. So we're kind of this balance of do we fire them? Because then it's we got to get back in the truck again, and you lose ground. And it takes a good month or more to get someone, probably 2 months before they're really comfortable in a truck. Because it might look easy, but it's easy if it's flat like this.
Yeah.
But if it's like that or like that or like this, it's not. It's scary a little bit. Oh shit, the thing's gonna fall off. It usually doesn't.
Right.
But there are some times where you're like, there's some times where you're just like, I remember, the thing makes noises or bangs, and you're like, wow, shit, is it falling off?
Yeah.
But and it just depends how it's loaded and how heavy it is. But there's some sketchy. We do some sketchy driveways.
I'm sure.
People say, oh, this is a really steep driveway. I said, okay, the driveway's no problem at all with an empty can.
Yeah.
But what are you putting in it? You put 5 tons in it. That's pretty sketchy coming down the hill and having to take a sharp right up a hill.
Yeah.
Like over in Westlake or out in Lakeway. I mean, we've gone some driveways that are just nasty.
Yep.
I had to go check one over here on Pascal for Ford Strait Builders. And I said, yeah, it's not a problem for our trucks. But like I said, taking that sharp turn out of the driveway, up a hill or down a hill is even worse. You got to go down a hill and turn like that, and it's side heavy. I said, and he said, no, nothing heavy's going in. I said, look, if it's 2 tons, 2.5 tons, that's fine. But if it's 5 tons, I mean, the driver's going to crap his pants with a 20 yard. 10 yards, no problem. No matter what.
Yeah.
A 20 yard, don't overload it and don't make it top heavy because it'll be scary coming out of that driveway.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they'll roll.
Hopefully he listened.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest struggle? Is probably finding drivers, finding good guys.
It was for sure. Like I said, we've been pretty good now, but we just lost one the other day. But they get lazy after a while, and I get it. But they don't. You know what it is. You got guys that. I tried telling them. I said, it's up to you as to how you grow with this business. You don't always have to be a driver, but if you have a driver mentality and you have an hourly mentality, that's all you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I try to tell these guys. I remember my oldest kid that's with us now. I mean, when my kids were growing up, I said, don't ever ask how much you're making because it doesn't matter at your age. When you're 16, 15, it doesn't matter. Just go in and do your best you can possibly do. Be the star, and I promise you, an owner will always pay you, and they'll never want to lose you. And my oldest kid did that. He was at a 7-Eleven. I remember the guy said, man, Max is 16. He's my gold standard. Right. I don't have 30-year-olds that work like he does.
Right.
And he never asked. Even when I hired him, he didn't ask me how much they're going to pay him.
Man, I was talking to my wife about that the other day, about just customer service, and how important it is. I think you should write a book on customer service.
Yeah, I mean it's second nature to me. Yeah. But now I hear my guys.
Well, that's how you were brought up. It seems like
when I have guys like heard me on the phone the other day. One of my guys like, man, you're so smooth at that. You just, I mean, even with. I've got a 50-year-old I just brought in. This guy was a senior VP. It's a friend of mine, a senior VP of reverse supply chain for Apple and Microsoft, managing billions of dollars of warehouse space all over the world.
Yeah.
And when I hear him on the phone, it's like it comes across as not rude, but a little bit almost. But he doesn't mean to be.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey, we need to get paid. You don't have to say it like that. I said, look, customers they'll always pay, right? With very, very, very few. In terms of the tens of thousands of dumpsters we've handled, we have 10 dumpsters, not even 10 that I've had to dump out, 5 or 6. 2 that we've had to file liens again. That's it. I said, so they pay. They're just busy. So just say, hey, just a reminder, I need to get the check. Now, if it's 5 or 6 times and they don't call you back, then you start getting a little irritated. You say, look, I got it till Monday, or we're going to have to pick it up and dump it out. They almost always call then. Oh, sorry. And it's just a way to approach it, right? It's just a way to approach it. I said our goal is to build a customer base, not build 10 and then run off 3. Build 10 and run off 3. And we're trying to add 10 and then add another 10. Even as answering the phone, I mean, people would joke with me when I was first during COVID. They're like, why are you answering the phone on a Saturday and Sunday? I said, an old guy taught me a long time ago when I was in insurance. He said, if you work half a day on Saturday, you'll be basically thousands of hours ahead of anyone else in just a couple of years.
That's true.
I took that to heart because he's right. And when I explained it this way, I said, look, a Saturday morning, let's just say a Saturday, I would get, even the busy time, I would get 10 calls. Sunday, I'd get 3.
Uh-huh.
I said, who do you think gets that business? Who's answering the phone on Saturday besides me? Yep. Nobody. I said, so I got all of them. I said, now take that times 52. That's 520 new dumpsters. You think they only order one? A bunch of them order a bunch. That's how we grew the business.
Yeah.
Guys, I didn't have to deliver it on Saturday, but the fact I answered the phone, if they're looking for dumpsters, I mean, I can't get a hold of somebody. I said, I'll have it there Monday morning. Okay, great. Well, then they became customers. You do that math, right, over 4 or 5 years, you're 2,500 more dumpsters and a whole shitload more customers.
Yeah.
And as long as you take care of them, you should never lose them. I tell my guys every day, every meeting we have, I say, guys, I've said it. Once we have a customer, if we lose them, it's our fault.
Yeah.
100% our fault. And it better not be your fault. Yeah. I tell my guys, I don't like to yell, but if I'm yelling at you, it's your fault. It's not mine, because I don't like to yell. And if I've hinted, I've suggested, I've done everything I can do to get you to do what I need you to do, and then when you don't, I finally start yelling.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but yeah, sales is not hard. I always say sales is being in the right place at the right time, or just being excited about what you're selling. It doesn't matter what it is. I was just selling. I said if I really got bored, I'd go sell Jeeps, because I've had a Jeep my whole life.
Really?
I've had probably 10 Jeeps. I love Jeeps. I said, I could sell Jeeps better than anybody because
Yeah.
I've had them.
it.
I've done all kinds of crazy shit in them. I said, I could sell them just by telling people stories of what I've done in the Jeep. But
well, so you service more than just the Austin area now, right?
shit, we go from Killeen. I got dumpsters in Killeen right now, and I have dumpsters in Seguin.
God dang.
I have dumpsters in Lockhart, and we have crap loads of Spice. We kind of own the west side, because when you Google now dumpster rental in Spicewood or Driftwood or Lakeway or Lago Vista or Leander, we come up first.
Really?
We got so much, but that's probably because we're closer out there.
Sure.
That lot is, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want all those, because I'm gonna have to raise my price out there, because it's just so expensive. Yeah, and there's no landfills. There never will be out there. All the landfills are east. And then funny, like Max just told me, we have 38 jobs already scheduled for tomorrow, and only 3 of them are east of 35.
Oh, wow.
That's it. So, and if I really dig at it, we have a bunch in Westlake. We kind of have a crap load in Westlake too. But after that, they're all outside of 360. They're in Leander, in Lago and Cedar Park. So there's a 45-minute drive to the landfills.
Yeah.
And you guys sit in line. But we're getting big enough now where we're trying to negotiate kind of special treatment. We can go around the lines, and Travis County is open to it. They're like, we spend $1 million a year in landfill fees. So,
okay.
we're kind of telling them, look, we got to either get it, you're killing us. And I either that, I'm going to have to sell my full cans down across the street where we have a yard, and then run them all in at 6 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning in Hutto, which we'll probably still do that, because we're trying to get efficient now. Now we're like, I can't have a driver go to the landfill 6 times a day, and every time he's there, he's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
They won't even barely get 6 jobs done there.
Yeah, yeah.
But like today, we tested out a deal with 2 drivers. One of them did 11 jobs, and that's huge for one driver to do 11 jobs on one day. And we had him setting down full cans and taking off, and then he's going to go back in the morning at 4:30 and dump them.
Wow.
So we're just trying to figure out now. Logistics is, at our stage, is the toughest thing. Trying to figure out, okay, how do you save money now?
Yeah.
Right before, we had so much coming in, and we were all working, including me, driving a truck. Well, now I got 4 office people that aren't driving full time. Well, that's a couple hundred, probably $300,000 in salaries that weren't there just a year ago.
Right.
So now I said, okay, now guys have got to get really efficient at saving money, while also bringing in more business. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But we're being begged to go to San Antonio. We almost bought a property. I bid on it, but we got outbidded, I guess. Kind of in that triangle of Lockhart, New Braunfels, San Marcos, and Seguin, right in the middle there. And what's nice there's 3 landfills within 25 minutes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so there's a bunch of landfills down there. There's one right off of 35 and between San Marcos and New Braunfels.
Yeah.
There's one in Luling. There's one in just north of Lockhart on the toll road, and they're all brand new for the most part.
Okay.
So the prices are good. So I think that's going to be a big move for us this year. And then I got a driver from Houston that is here now, but we're going to open Houston probably in June, North Houston.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to get into, is what you thought kind of the future of bin dumps looked like.
I mean, there was a point where we were looking at Phoenix, and the guy I was working with, he opened a dumpster company in Phoenix. And I said, look, I kind of changed my mind. I said, look, I don't have the bandwidth to do this. I'm 55 years old. I'm tired.
Yeah.
That's why I brought my kids. Look, I've been working a lot. I mean, and I like to work. I can't sit at home and do anything.
Yeah.
Do nothing. I mean, so I've kind of said I like to work, but I need to start doing it at my own. When I want to, I need to take my wife on some vacations that she likes. You know.
Yeah.
And she said, "You can't keep working this hard." And I can't. I tell people I've worked more than most 80-year-olds already. You know, at 50. But I do it because I like it. You know, I like to get feedback from customers saying you guys are awesome. Just like at Valente Beach, I mean, I made sure our menu. I told people I'm not serving shitty food. I'm not even serving shitty party food. Yeah. I'm not serving cold burgers. I'm not serving cold cheese and cold buns in a pan. I mean, so we bought a food trailer, and you get burgers to order even for a party of 100 if they want. And they order them when they want, and they come out hot and fresh and melted. And people are like, "Man, this is a great burger."
That's
a lot better than
cool.
normal party burgers, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just. I didn't think it was different, but I know now it is. You know, people don't think like that. And now I know I go into a new restaurant, and I was like, this is going to last more than 5 months. I said, whoever built it has never had their food because it sucks. You know what I'm talking about. You go to a new restaurant, it's like, this food's shitty. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, been done. We kind of said, like, if we go from here, San Antonio and Houston, we'll have 3,000 to 5,000 dumpsters in the next 7 to 10 years, and it'll be a $25 million a year business. That's plenty. And it's just, I just bought out all my partners, so now it's just me right now, but the guy that I just brought in will probably buy in a small chunk. But we're looking at adding other services too. So we got builders that have asked for the portable containers. They said, look, and these big ones, Arrowhead and a couple others, they said, look, we'll use you exclusively if you have these. If you want to get into fencing, you want to get into the drainage socks, you want to get into porta potties, the big one. And, I partner with a company right now, Blue Chem, and I sell Blue Chem dumpsters. Yeah. So guys can just come to me and say, I need a dumpster and a porto. And
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they can tell me that, and then we're done.
Okay.
And they don't have to go to two places, and it's still basically the same price.
Yeah.
Because they give, I think probably their second biggest customer right now, so they give me a good price, and I can make $15 for invoicing.
Cool.
They'll make a bunch of money out of it. Yeah. But there's possibilities to buy a porto company eventually, and merge with some of these companies that really fit together well with us. Yeah. Because that's what we did I told you, at the software company, an association, our goal was to do everything they needed to do from a sales perspective. We were their sales team. I said, we'll sell your job board, we'll sell insurance, we'll sell your products and services that you've put together. Anything they want, we want to be able to give them. So that's been my sales model from day one. It's like, look, if I have a relationship with somebody and they love us, well, anything I bring to them that they already buy, they're probably going to buy from me. So, but Portos was logical for sure. Now that I just got off the phone with our manufacturer today, and I said, can you build me these containers? Just build me a dumpster with a lid with a roof on it. And he said, all right. And he gave me a price today. I said, we'll probably order 5 to 10 initially, and it'll still pick up just like a dumpster. We'll set it down just like a dumpster, but it'll be a portable storage container.
Oh, super cool.
Where they can lock the back and
that's handy. Yeah, because we utilize storage containers. Just about every job we have multiple ones. Yeah,
I've seen them, but I see the mobile minis and stuff, but I didn't realize they charge what they do for them.
Oh,
when they told me what they pay for them, I'm like, shit, I let a dumpster sit, for 30 days. I let them sit for 60 days with our best partner builders. So it's like for $500 a month, we can do that, no problem. Yeah. Because the dumpsters are, it'll probably be $5,000, but in a year, then you paid for it. Mm-hmm. Right? And they don't, especially containers like that, they're not going to get banged up and dented ever. They'll probably last 20 years. Yeah. Those solid steel ones. So I expect us to have those probably in the next month or so, at least a couple of them. And then if it takes off, it takes off. I really got to do a little more research and see, okay, how many people really will buy these things? Yeah. Rent them, but a couple of the bigger ones probably they'd use 10. Yeah, they'd use the first 10. But anyway, that's kind of our growth plan. Now we said, look, let's just make a great family or a locally owned business and not worry about being the biggest in the country because there's no need to be.
Service first.
Yeah, and just stay right here local. And there's wholesalers in this business too. They're technology companies is what they are. So if you Google dumpster rental Austin, there's a couple that come up. They look like dumpster companies, but they're not. They don't own a single dumpster. Really? They get the business, and then they call us to do it. So we give them a good price, kind of just like I do Portos. They get a little markup on it, and they got salespeople all over the country answering the phones. And they're in every city. So they've said, hey, move to Houston, we'll give you 20, 25 jobs a week. You move to San Antonio, we'll give you 20 jobs a week. It's because they love us. They love the fact that they send us something that's done in 24 hours. So that'll help us grow, and we've already got some builders, like I said. So that's a good path for us. Yeah, we can still take some free time or one of us can disappear, or two of us can, all three of us just went to Steamboat for Music Fest, and we were just running the business, sitting around the kitchen table. Because all three of our phones were ringing, right? So Max was on the ski slope. He answers one. What did you say after that call? Yeah, I'm sitting up here at the bar.
That's so cool. Well, you said you're fixing to go on vacation yourself too, right?
We're just going to Cancun on Friday, just for a couple of days. It's so close, Cancun. You can go down Friday and come back Sunday, and it's worth it. Because you can fly. You've never been to Cancun?
I've never been to Cancun.
It's only an hour and 30 minutes on Southwest. They got nonstops now. They're cheap.
Yeah. I don't have much disposable income. I got two little ones, and that's they're in school, and that's about all I can do.
We've all been there. I tell I'm glad my oldest kid, he remembered it, and he said, "Man, what you guys have done to get us where we're at." I mean, I remember, man, starting when I left the insurance company, for example. Like I said, I was top salesperson in the country. We had everything. My wife and I we had a boat, we had a house, we had cars, we had everything we wanted at 27, 28 years old. Wow. And I left it, went to zero. And, she was 8 months pregnant with my oldest kid. And I remember saying, I can't do this anymore. I have to do. She was, it was stressful. And then I racked up $70,000 in credit card debt, just paying bills. And I always say, had Austin not grown, and the value of my house that I bought for $160,000 off of Spicewood Springs that had views, it had not gone up to $400,000 or $500,000, and I borrowed money every year against it, and I paid to live basically while we grew the business. And it worked. But there were plenty of days where I'm like, well, we don't have any money. I'd go to the ATM, I had $5. Jeez. And I had a kid then too. And I'm like, she's like, what are we gonna do? I said, it's working. I can tell it's working.
That's a big gamble.
I said, we have a product that they want and that they need. An association, like I said, we were really almost too early for them. Yeah. We'd have like an email blast program, right, where they could email their members. And I remember talking to some groups. They had 4,000 members. How many emails do you have? 5. They tell me 5. Wow. I'm like, that's it? I said, shit, I'm going to count on you having half your. Okay, your next renewal, you're going to ask for an email address from every one of your members. And that was funny because they were like, wow, we don't need to do that online. We're good at it. But it worked out. It took me 6 years longer than I thought it would before we sold it. I figured it'd take 6 or 7 years. That was a .com boom in Austin. .com, everything was .com this, .com that. Yep. And I'd actually started one before that went out of business because these two old guys I went into business with just basically tried to screw me. Oh, really? And it was, they tried to steal the business from me. But luckily, I was the face of the whole thing. But they made me look really bad to these customers because I was out traveling all over, meeting them face to face. And luckily, the guy that became still my friend, the investor, I tell you what, he had just come in and he was looking at putting money in the business because they knew him. They knew him through somebody else. And I remember I caught him lying to me. So I'd actually caught him lying to me. I knew they were lying, and I went and watched what they were doing. I said, they're lying to me. Wow. So I went to a friend's wedding in Colorado, and this, again, Bob, his name's Dr. Bob. He called me up. He said, I'm supposed to offer you $60,000 for your portion of the business. And I'm like, really? I said, so you're gonna buy me out for $60,000, and then you're gonna put $300,000 into that business with those guys with me not there? He says, I didn't say that. And he's a smart guy, right? He's been a UT marketing professor. He's been in a lot of lawsuits. He's an expert witness. That's where he makes all his money. And he said, and he was on the board, so he had a fiduciary responsibility to keep the company going. Yeah. He said, let me ask you this. He said, if you left, do you think you could start this company again and do it the right way? I said, yes. And he says, well, I don't think you'd have any problems finding the money. That's what he said to me. Yeah. I said, okay, I think I understand what you're saying. He goes, okay, good. I'm going to say it again. He said, I think if you left and started it over, you'd have no problems finding the money. And I just asked him if he was going to put $300,000, and he spotted me $300,000. Wow. 2 months later, they shut it off the next day when I said no. By Monday, it was shut off, and it took me 2-3 years to get some of those customers back, though, because I made them look bad. These executives, they looked bad to their boards, but I went and apologized to their face, in different cities, and I did an apology tour, but they, again, I'm an honest guy. They can tell that. I said, I'm going to bust my ass to get a better product out there, and we're going to make you guys money, and we did. So it was fun bringing all this thing. I haven't talked about that stuff for a while.
Yeah, well, good.
Bringing up good memories.
Yeah, very good.
But we've done some good. I don't know if you drive up and down 360 right there at Westlake. You looked over that building and seen Affinipay. Have you heard of Affinipay?
No.
It's on one of the buildings there. We started that. And it kind of pisses me off because at one point I owned 16% of that company, and she just sold it for about $150 million.
Oh, no way.
And those shitty investors I told you about, they forced us to sell our portion for $500,000. We own 40% of that business, and I own 40% of the Finiscape, so I had 16% of that company. And oh well, all the decisions aren't great ones.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. Right?
Yeah, my wife's like, you can have this and this and this. Yeah, but you know what? I put another guy in it's called the Rally Ranch. I've ever heard of the Rally Ranch. He has rally racing school out at Pascoda. And I took Max, my oldest kid, there when he was 16, but he had it down in New Braunfels, like just a little 9-acre pasture. But it was fun as hell.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm looking for I don't have any money. And Dave was probably a 28-year-old kid, 26-year-old kid. And like, man, this is fun. And my kid had a blast, you know. And we found a 138-acre property out in Dale, Texas. Yeah. Back when stuff was relatively affordable. So I bought it for him, and I said, all right, you're going to pay every penny of it. And I was going to be part of it. And then he's just a kid. He was just doing some dumb stuff too, but not like the other guy, not crooked stuff.
Right.
Just so flaky. I'm like, I don't want to be part of this. You just pay all the bills, pay the mortgage, pay the rent, pay everything. And I'll give you this deal 5 years. It's going to go up every year. If you buy it at the very end, it's going to be X dollars. Well, it was kind of guaranteed. I still made decent money, but the second he signed it, which was literally the last day he could have bought it before the whole agreement disappeared, and I reminded him, hey, it's coming up. But he went out and got Travis Pastrana and Bucky Lassick, some big guys involved in it. And now it's freaking awesome. If you get a chance to pull up Rally Ranch, and it is Rally Ready is the company. But it's got unbelievable tracks and trails and the Subarus and they have all kinds of fun crap out there. If you like watching these cars, this guy can drive. He took me through these trees in a Yamaha UTV with no doors and windows on it, going 80 miles an hour through the trees. We come around like, Jesus Christ, let me out of here. Let's do it again. No, I don't want to do it again. But you got to be half crazy to drive like that.
Oh yeah, you do. These like rally car kind of like
they're all-wheel drive Subarus, and they're sliding sideways and jumping, and they got Raptors out there. Now he's got everything.
Yeah.
Back when he started, he said 4 or 5 cars that he would hand put together. Jeez. His guys would hand build these things, these Acuras and stuff.
That sounds fun.
But another thing, when he bought that property, he probably had instantly $1 million in equity in it. It's 130 acres, 10 minutes past Coda. So, but anyway, my wife said, you're too nice. I said, yeah, that was the deal I made him. I'm not going to turn around and screw him. And that comes back to bite you too. I said, I'm done fine. I'm fine. Yeah. Again, I grew up in Iowa. I didn't have much anyway.
Right. Well, Adam, I appreciate you coming on, man, and I really envy you have a mind for business, and that's something I wish I had, and I love listening to you talk, and I hope everybody else enjoys it too.
Yeah. Well, he was glad to be here.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming out here.
Well, if I can help in any way, I'm happy to help.
I appreciate it. Thank you.